Ever think about, I don't know, like where compressed air comes from?
Hmm.
I'll admit it wasn't exactly keeping me up at night or anything.
Right.
But turns out it's in like everything.
Yeah, it's pretty ubiquitous.
Manufacturing, packaging, even hospitals, they all need it.
Absolutely. It underpins so many industries.
But the thing is, there's this whole quiet revolution happening right now in how companies are getting this essential thing, this compressed air.
It's true. And what's interesting is most people don't even think about it. I mean, it's kind of like, you just turn on a tap and you expect water. Compressed air is the same way. It's become this kind of invisible utility.
Invisible, huh?
Yeah, it's like a fourth utility almost, if you think about it.
Wow. Okay, a fourth utility.
Mhm.
So today we're diving into this whole world, specifically Kaeser compressors and their air as a service model.
Okay.
Is this just a fancy marketing thing? Or is it a real game changer?
Right, because everyone loves a good buzzword. Well, to understand why this is a big deal, you got to look at the kind of the old way of doing things.
Okay.
The traditional model, you're basically buying all the equipment yourself.
Right.
Compressors, dryers, the works.
Big investment, I imagine.
Huge upfront cost. Then there's the whole maintenance headache, the risk of your tech getting outdated. It's a lot to handle.
Yeah, I bet. So air as a service, that's where Kaeser steps in with their, what is it, Sigma Air utility system?
Exactly.
So instead of, owning all this stuff, it's like I'm subscribing to my compressed air needs.
Think of it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Kaeser manages everything.
Hmm.
They provide the latest compressors, air treatment. They even have this intelligent control system called the Sigma Air Manager 4.0.
Okay.
And you get the air you need exactly when you need it, but without all the, the burdens of ownership.
Interesting. But why is this switch like revolutionary for businesses? What's the big aha moment here?
Imagine never having to worry about your air compressor going down in the middle of, a critical production run.
Right.
Or picture this. You've got real-time data right at your fingertips telling you exactly how much air you're using, how efficiently you're using it.
Okay, I'm starting to see it.
That's the power of this model, this air-as-a-service approach.
So it's not even just about the cost. It's about that peace of mind.
Exactly, yeah.
But how do they actually make that happen?
Yeah.
That's a lot of moving parts.
Right. There's some really impressive technology at play here. This is where Industry 4.0 comes into the picture. Think IoT sensors embedded in all the equipment.
Oh,
And those sensors are constantly collecting data, feeding it back to these advanced analytics platforms like Kaeser's own Sigma Air Manager 4.0. We're talking, real-time monitoring, predictive maintenance. It's a whole new world.
wait, hold on. Predictive maintenance, you're saying they can tell when something's going to break before it actually happens.
In a way, yes, they're not fortune tellers, but by analyzing all this data,
Okay, right.
they can spot patterns, anomalies that might suggest a future problem. And that lets them schedule maintenance proactively.
Right.
Minimizes downtime, maximizes efficiency. It's pretty remarkable.
So it's like they've got this crystal ball, right?
That's one way to put it, yeah. But instead of magic, it's data.
Right. Right.
Real insights. But the tech is only part of the story. Ultimately, it comes down to why are businesses actually making this switch?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The why.
Yeah.
And, digging into it, it seems like this financial flexibility is a big selling point.
It makes a huge difference.
So break that down for me a bit.
Well, remember that elephant in the room we talked about?
Right.
The upfront cost of the traditional model,
Yeah.
air as a service, basically takes that elephant and turns it into a manageable monthly expense.
Okay.
No more massive investment right out of the gate. You just pay for what you use.
So it's kind of like instead of buying a car, I'm leasing it, right?
Exactly.
You pay for the miles, essentially.
And for a lot of these companies, their air needs go up and down. It's not always consistent.
Right.
So this way, they're not stuck with this big, expensive compressor just sitting there idle half the time.
Makes sense.
And not to get too in the weeds, but treating compressed air as an operational expense rather than a capital expenditure, it can do wonders for a company's books.
Ah, okay. So the CFO's happy.
Exactly. You've got it.
But it can't be just about the money, right?
Yeah.
What about the day-to-day? Like our sources talked about how Kaeser's approach helps mitigate risk, which for a business owner, that's got to be huge.
Oh, yeah. Peace of mind is a big part of this. Think about it. Equipment failures, surprise maintenance costs, even keeping up with all the regulations, those can be real headaches.
Yeah.
But with this model, Kaeser takes all that on.
Okay.
They're basically your peace of mind partner,
Interesting.
making sure everything runs smoothly, that it meets all the standards, and that you're not stuck with outdated technology.
It's like having like a safety net for your compressed air supply.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got reliability, efficiency, it's all taken care of. But how does this air as a service thing, how does it actually work in practice? Because our sources, they dug into Kaiser's implementation process and they called it, what was it? Meticulous, I think was the word they used.
Yeah, they don't mess around.
Yeah.
It all starts with really understanding the customer's needs.
Okay.
So they begin with a really thorough assessment of the existing setup.
Okay.
What's the air demand like? What are the pain points? They look at everything.
So it's not just like a quick glance. They're really doing their homework.
Oh, yeah, they bring in the big guns. They've got their air demand analysis, which does exactly what it sounds like.
Right.
And then they use the Kaeser energy saving system, or KESS, to assess the energy efficiency of how things are currently running.
So they're gathering data.
Tons of data.
Okay.
They analyze it, and they use that to figure out the best air as a service solution, but like one that's actually tailored to that specific customer.
So there's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of deal.
Nope. This is bespoke compressed air, my friend.
Bespoke compressed air. Never heard that one before.
Well, you have now. But the point is, it's all about customization. So once they have a handle on what the customer needs, that's when the real magic happens, the system design phase.
Okay.
Kaeser's engineers, they get to work selecting the right compressors, mapping out the whole air network, figuring out how to integrate that Sigma Air Manager 4.0 we talked about.
Right.
I mean, they consider everything. Pipe diameters, future expansion possibilities, the attention to detail. It's pretty impressive.
Sounds intense. So they design this whole thing, and then what? Do they just like hand over a stack of blueprints and say, good luck?
Oh, no. Kaeser handles the entire installation and commissioning process themselves.
Whoa.
Setting up the network, configuring those control systems, even training the customer's team on how to, operate and maintain everything.
So they're with them every step of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. They're invested in making it a true partnership, not just a sale. They want their customers to really get it, not just understand the technology, but feel empowered by it.
That's cool. But that brings up another question. How do you measure if this air as a service thing is actually working? I mean, it can't just be about like cubic feet of air, right? There's got to be more to it than that.
Oh, yeah, it's way more nuanced than that. We're talking about sophisticated systems here. And Kaeser uses some pretty specific key performance indicators, KPIs as they're called, to track how things are going. Energy efficiency is a big one, for example.
Makes sense.
They really drill down into the specific power consumption of their compressors. So that's, how much air they're producing for every unit of energy they use.
Right.
And they track everything super carefully. I mean, we're talking high-tech flow meters, energy management platforms, the works.
Okay, so they're making sure these systems are sipping electricity, not gulping it down. But what about just like keeping things running? Our sources were really impressed with Kaeser's uptime, like how often these systems are actually working.
Reliability is huge, absolutely. And Kaeser, they've got an amazing track record. We're talking 99.9% plus uptime, thanks to their Locust platform and EIM system.
Wow, that's incredibly high.
It is. And it comes down to things like redundant data protection, top-notch facility protection, and a really, really solid data recovery plan, just in case.
Smart. But okay, let's be real. At the end of the day, it's got to make financial sense.
Absolutely. And that's where the total cost of ownership analysis comes in, TCO.
Okay.
It's about taking that long view, right? 5-10 years down the line.
Okay.
Kaeser, they don't just look at the sticker price of the equipment. They factor in everything. Energy consumption, maintenance, all of it. They figure out what it really costs to have compressed air, over the long haul.
So it's about transparency, giving businesses that full picture.
Exactly. And when you lay it all out like that, it really highlights the value of air as a service. It's not about, just making a sale. It's about building a relationship that's based on efficiency, reliability, and results that you can actually measure.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. We've learned a lot about compressed air.
It's more exciting than people realize.
Yeah, way more exciting than I thought it would be, I'll be honest. But, Kaeser Compressors, they're really shaking things up with this whole air as a service idea, from the technology to just the whole way we think about compressed air as a utility. It really makes you wonder, though, if this catches on, are we going to see a future where we don't own any of our utilities? We just subscribe to them. We subscribe to these smart, efficient, sustainable solutions that are, designed specifically for what we need. Something to think about. Until next time, keep diving.